So what we have here in the bench tonight is this really nice and very small. Take a look, this is my hand. It's a really nice, very small Geloso brand radio. It's a tube radio, it's made in Italy, and I don't know much about it yet. I have just received it, so I don't have much information about it. It is non-working condition, and it's been it looks like it's been treated, I don't know, like it's very dirty around. It's seen some use here in the dial. There's part of the dial is the marking is all gone here, but in general it's very good. It covers all the AM broadcast bands and some shortwave bands, and up to, I think it's 14.5 megahertz. All the mechanical parts seem to be working well. Here I have this is the power on and volume, and here is the tuning knob with the dial, which is perfectly working. So, and here is, I think, some sort of indicator by the looks of it, but I'm not sure yet because I've never owned one of these and I don't really know much about it yet. But we will go and try to make this thing work, clean it up, and let's see if we can restore it, not to its original state, but to working condition. This is the back of the unit, the little very nice Geloso radio. We can see here that the label is all gone. It's only here, it's like a metallic label. You can see some markings. The model is G319. So we can also see that you have here down here you can choose the working voltage, and it has a like a homemade jumper here. Let me see. Yes, it's very homemade. On the 220 volt, we have here 220 volts here locally, so that seems okay. We also see that the radio has been opened maybe many times, because this is not the original. Maybe this is the original, but this doesn't look original. And we can see that the cable here, instead of being wired through this hole, it came out this way. So it looks like it's very simple to open, just 2 screws. So let me take off those screws and show you inside. And it looks like, yes, it has been maybe stored in some place with some humidity for a long time. Let me get this straight. There's some rust here, and we can see that this radio has only 3 tubes. It has only 3 tubes here, but I've already checked, looked over the schematic. I haven't got in depth in the schematic, but I've seen I've seen that these tubes are a bit complex, and they have like more than one. Some of them have more than one functionality inside. By the look of it, it's a UB series, so it looks like these tubes are, the filament voltage goes in series. Let me check this one here. Also it's a UC, so this shows that the filaments go in series. But I've also seen in the schematic that this is not a transformerless set. We can see the speaker and here is the speaker transformer. I can see that this is broken. It looks like a cap that was there in parallel. We'll have to check that with the schematics, and also maybe some little wires there. I don't know what's that all about. I have to check it out. So let me maybe take it out of this case. Fortunately, everything looks fine. The speaker itself it looks really nice. No problem with that. I haven't tested it yet, but it looks fine, which is important. It's not the cardboard, it's okay. It has no issues there. And the transformer. So let's see. I think this is going to be no issues there. And we have the radio itself here. If we take a look underneath, yes, we can see here that it has seen a lot of some modifications. Not modifications, maybe some repairs, to state it correctly. Excuse me. Now let's see. We have some capacitor here which has some sort of tape. I don't know. This is original. This is a capacitor also, which is it's Italian, so this is original for sure. This some tape also here, and there is this mess of, I don't know what were they thinking here, like this I don't know, everything meets there, you know. And also here some sort of, I don't know if it's clear, but there's some really ugly solder joint there. I don't know if you can see, in the middle of nothing, but I don't know if you can see it there. This is the audio gain, the volume potentiometer, and it's made in Italy. Yes, there it says it's made in Italy, so that's original too. And on the other hand, the tuning coils here and the selection switch, the wafer switch for the different bands, which are selected on the side of the radio, look to be in good shape. We also see what looks to be maybe, yes, a diode, a selenium diode, maybe. It says selenium there, so I have to check that with the schematic too. So I don't know, I'll have to sit down. I already cut the cord here, have to replace all that, of course. And this is the antenna. Yes, I have to replace that too. That should be, yes, should be a connector, not a cable with a knot. This is, I think this is the power transformer. We can see all over the radio these cloth cables, which I have to, of course it has rubber inside. Look, there's something missing here, because there are some little stubs of cable here. Of course there seems to be something missing there too, something also here missing, so I don't know what's going on there. Have to check that out. And all of these cables, I have to check them to see if they're still good, or maybe replace them all. Here this have, again, we can see this broken capacitor or something. I have to check that out. And everything is in Milano, Italy. Geloso Milano, this is original, of course. And this altoparlante, this is also Geloso Milano. So this is all original, and that's good on this, about this radio, is that all the parts seem to be original. So I'm happy with that, because it will make things easier, much easier. The schematic looks very simple, a very small component count, so I don't know, it looks promising. Okay, so I started disassembling the case, mainly because I saw this indicator here, something that looks like an indicator, and when I disassembled the radio and had the chassis out, I didn't see anything related to that. But then when I was disassembling this to clean it, I saw these little cables here coming out, so I disassembled this. There we go. So this is the cabinet without that faceplate, and here we can see we have the dial glass, which very carefully I will remove because it's already, this is the dial glass. We'll have a very nice look here of it. It's really nice. Let's see how I managed to solve this problem here. There's nothing to solve here. I mean, I'll try to clean it as best as I can without damaging it further. So this will go away in a safe place, I hope. There. And then here there is a little tube tucked here, which looks to be, this is really interesting. The signal level may be indicated there, or the strength of the signal, or I don't know what. Maybe these are those wires that were missing or that were cut off from the main transformer. I hope DM70. Here are some numbers, DM70. I remember that I have to check it. I don't have it here, but I have to check it. That there was a tube which was dotted, all dotted in the schematic, and which may be related to this. Maybe in some models this is optional, so that's why it's dotted there. I just hope that this works, and for some reason they took it out of the circuit for some reason. I don't know why, but I simply hope it works. But this is a really nice thing to have if it works on the front of the radio, of course. This is the schematic, as the one I could get. This is for the 319 and other similar models. As you can see, it has the three tubes we've seen in the radio itself. It's a UCH81, UBF89, and a UCL82. There is the little signal strength indicator, which is this very nice little tube, which is a DM70, which is shown here in the schematic in dotted lines, maybe because this is an optional for some radio models and not for all of them. This is the selenium rectifier we see in the schematic here, which generates the DC voltage. I will test it, but most probably replace it with a modern diode, because I want to use the radio and I want it to be dependable. So I will replace this with a modern diode, and moreover I most probably replace all the caps and all the resistors that need to be replaced. I will replace everything, so that with more modern components, so that I have my radio working and dependable again. We can see, and now I understand a little bit more this mess here. We can see we have the rectifier, and it has some this is a two-section capacitor, as it is shown here. It's 40 plus 40 microfarad, 250 volt, which was that's this capacitor here, that seems to have one section probably was working okay, or more or less okay, when they did this, when they inserted this capacitor here, and the other section wasn't working fine, so they added this capacitor here. So everything will go here and replace this with modern capacitors, one here and one here. I think I'll start removing some of this mess right now. This mess they left here. Oh, there's a little wire going around. There's, I don't know if you can see this, but there is a little wire in there. Look at wire, the wire that, let me see if I put this way and has better light. This little wire that goes here goes all through the antenna, all around the antenna wire. Look at this, and then to ground. So okay, it's ground, no problem, but it's a bit, I don't know, you know, this is terrible. So let's cut it from there, and also they soldered the two sections in parallel there. I'll cut them off here. Okay, this is Gonski, and there's this tape also here. Well, the label of the old cap. This is the original cap. Let's see what the label says. There. 40 plus 40, 250 volt, Geloso Milano. So this is the original stuff, and it's the same as shown in this schematic, 40 plus 40, 250 volts. So that this is the original. Nice label, but the capacitor looks gone. Here is like they use some, it's incredible what they use, like some sort of really thin wire there. Look at this, is the pen here, and it's really thin and hard wire to put things in parallel there. I don't know. Okay, I took a little time to look into the schematic a little bit more, because when I started removing this capacitor, which was placed in parallel, I then realized that there was something misconnected with all this wiring here. So what was happening is that there was a wire between this point and this point here. This was connected like that. This may tell me two things. Maybe that the transformer, the output transformer, is not good, has one section here which is bad, or that this resistor is bad, and this resistor became bad and they fixed it by joining these 2 points together. Well, maybe one or the two, but the resistor is not very good. If we check here with the ohm meter, and it measures, there you go, very strange, it measures, yes, that's much more than it should. There we go. So this resistor is bad, so maybe the way to fix it was to just put these two together here and hope it work. I don't know. So this has to be reviewed and has to be wired correctly. I think the first thing I will do here is to address the power supply. I will check the transformer. Of course, I will check the tubes in the tube tester. I think I will remove the power transformer from the chassis and check everything around it. Check the sections here and to see if they are all okay, or maybe this transformer doesn't have all these windings, all these tabs. I don't know, I have to check it. Okay, so I removed the transformer, the power transformer, from the chassis, and this is what it looks like. It has this this label here, which is loose, but it was placed in that way. I will glue it back later on. And I was seeing that all these cables are, which are cloth on the outside, and it has some rubber inside, are, I don't know, maybe they are good. I'll check later which ones I will change and which ones I will leave. For example, in this case I will replace them all because I've already taken this out, so I will replace them with new cables. In fact, they are color coded here, which in this radio they aren't. We have a black, blue, I don't know which color is that one. I don't know, some too much Italian. This is red, and I think that should be orange, if I'm not mistaken, but don't quote me on that. This is brown, and this is white. And look at this, the 110 volt and the 125 volt, which would be this one and this one, are not populated, and it looks like they're never were populated. So maybe this radio, which had the back plate for the back connectors for voltage selecting, it was not possible to be done there. Although if you check, the transformer has the winding inside, so most probably if I connect this to the tab in the correct manner as the schematic does, the radio can become multi selectable voltage. Here it's the little selenium rectifier thing, which is really nice. You see, it says selenium Milano, and it says I think you can see the 90 milliamp at 220 volt. I never tested one of these, but I think it should test as a diode. So let's put the I haven't tested it yet, so let's see. There, and let's put diode testing, and let's see what happens. Let me check between this one and this one. Naranja, nothing. And between, maybe that's correct because this is the, should be positive. Nothing. Maybe this is already, I don't know. Oh, maybe this is something from here to here. I don't know how to measure these things. This is okay. Maybe the drop voltage is too high and I cannot measure it with this. I don't know. Or maybe it's broken, so maybe that's an issue. Okay, I connected the selenium rectifier to one of these Chinesium component testers, which are really handy. I really like it because it gives a really ballpark of what's going on with the component, so no problem with it. But it gives it detects it like a 20 picofarad capacitor, so I don't know what's happening with this rectifier. I will test the transformer next to see if everything is working fine. I will be working with high voltage and live voltages, so please, if you are going to work with high voltage, either AC or DC, please, you must do it only if you know what you're doing. If you proceed with working in high voltage, you do at your own risk. This I'll do it at my own risk, and I will be testing the transformer with high voltages on it. So without taking this sign out of here so that you can still remember we are working with high voltages, we have here the schematic of the transformer. We have a 0 volt tab, then we have a 6 volt tab, 38 volt tab, 88, 110, 125, 160, which is the one that goes to the rectifier, and a 220 volt. I've connected 235 volt, which is my mains voltage at this time, between the 0 and the 220 tabs. So all these voltages will be slightly up, but let's check if they are working fine. This is my setup here, and have the meter here. Let's turn on the light if it's used. It's in AC volts, so I put in 0 volt, and I have in the 6 volt output I have 7 volt. Remember, between the in the 220 volt tab, I'm feeding 235, so all voltages will be a bit higher. No problem with that, because it's between tolerance. This is 7 volt in the 6 volt output. In the 38 volt output we have 43 volts. In the 88 volt output we have 96 volts. In the 110 volt output we have 121. In the 125 we have 137. And if I move this carefully to this side, there we go. Between the 0 volt and the 160 volt output we have 175, and between in the 220 volt tab, of course, we have the 235 volts. So all in all, the transformer looks to be in good shape, and no problems here so far. All resistors and all capacitors that I measured were really out of tolerance. So what I decided to do was to disassemble the radio completely and build it back together again, and let's check some resistors. Let me see there, for example, and here let me see this one, for example. This should be a 1 megohm resistor. Let's check it. This is 1.4 megohm, so this is out of tolerance. I have here, what's this, 150k. Let me check, and that measures 215k. I have another one here. Let me see this one, for example. This should be 47k, and let me see there, 47k, and we have 51k. This is more or less okay. Here 220 ohm. Let's see, 295, more or less. But in fact, at what point, while measuring all the resistors, I thought that the problem was my meter, but it wasn't my meter. All the resistors were off, and the capacitors, look, I have some capacitors here, were also off. And worst of all, these are really leaky electrically leaky. So they are also they look like a resistor. So not only the resistor values drifted and the capacitors are leaky, so that may explain perfectly well why the radio had these signs of for example, it had some signs of overheating and this series capacitor here was way off, so and had signs of really overheated. I have it here, so this capacitor, this resistor really looks overheated. So what I think happened that as component drifted, the biasing on the different tubes went way out, and current started flowing really bad, and we had overheating, and I don't know. I measured the tubes in the tube tester, and they are all working. Filaments are working, and they are midlife, so maybe we can get the radio working without needing to replace the tubes, any of the tubes. Here, let me see if that's visible. Let me see. This one, they all should measure 50 nano. So that one measures 70. Measures really weird. This is really strange, because this is measuring here is it's quite stable, so and when you have a higher value, that indicates electrical leakage. So yes, I don't know what's happening there. And if we check, for example, this is a new capacitor, it's a 47 nano, and what do we have there? 49. So this is a good capacitor, and these are the capacitors I took out of the radio. So we can, what I use, as I don't have a capacitor leakage tester, what I will use, that I made some experiments and it looks like it will work. This is a insulation tester, which measures it represents in ohms the leakage found in electric circuits, like the electrical wiring you have in your house, and if in the industry, if you have some leakage, you can check it with this one. And what it does, it polarizes with 250, 500, 1000 volts. And of course, if it shows infinite resistance, then it's not leaky. So for example, if I powered it on, I have the test leads here, and we have it in 500 volts for hand. When you press test, well, it's open, so it measures overload in resistance. If I short the leads, when I measure, it shows 0. So that's the way it works. So as these are high voltage paper capacitors, paper condenser, and they are 1000 volt rated, I will measure it with 500 volts. And this, it charges, it should charge, so the value should start very low and then drift until it gets to infinite. That's the behavior it should have. But let's see, for example, let's see in a new capacitor. So let's put this here. There we go, and let's put test. There we go. So it charged the capacitor, and we have a infinite resistance. And this is a 1k volt, so we can check it at 1000 volts. It charges and then goes to infinite resistance. So this looks to be a good method to check if the capacitor is leaky. This is charge, so I will discharge it here. There we go. It's really nice spark there. It's discharged. Fine. So let's check one of these. Let's put it in 500 volts. And one of the capacitors I took out of the radio. in the future I think on having a leakage tester for capacitor. So let's see. Let's check it here and look what happens. 200k at 500 volts. Let's check this R1. This the extremely leaky too. So all these they are all the same, leaky, really leaky. So well, there we go. Okay, so there were many parts that were they were rusted and they were really awful, and one of them was the chassis itself. So I decided to paint it, and here it is. This is a silver color paint, spray painted. First I clean it all, and in the back with tape I covered the solders of the different components to the chassis so that I can solder back again. But the chassis now, it's really nice. I rewired the transformer. I cleaned it up. I followed the colors in the schematic. So for example, we have white, it's 0 volt, and then we have brown, it's 38, red is 110, this is 125, it's yellow, and have 88, it's gray, and this I didn't have. This should be here, black and blue, and this one should be 6 volt. This should be orange, if I'm not mistaken, but I didn't have orange, so I put some purple wire there. So and also I remove all the components from this top TV here, because as I already said, they were all off, so I decided to replace all of them. And this is the 1.5K resistor, 2-watt resistor, which is here. Now it's a new one, so that will work fine, and has a green wire, and here it goes, the green wire to the transformer. So in the process of building the radio back together again, and as I mentioned before, I started by the power supply, and I built the audio amplifier stage. That would be the UCL82 tube. So at this point, the audio amplifier is working. I've reassembled parts of the chassis. The IF cans are all in place, as well as all the three sockets. And that's important because the first wiring I did was the filament wiring, which is done in series in these two tubes. So I had to put them in place. Okay, let's take a look. I hope I don't break the tube there. This is the underside. As you can see, everything is quite new. This little choke is this one, which of course I had to put a new one because the original one was also bad. So I had it seems that this radio had like some catastrophic failure at the end of its working life that really destroyed a lot of the components. But luckily, the important ones are still working. We have this network here: the capacitor, the resistor, the output transformer here. It's all brand new wiring. the speaker was checked. We have also here the little choke and the rectifier. So the power supply is working fine. And then I build this part of the circuit, which is here around the output tube, which would be the two stages of amplification, of audio amplification here, the 10 meg ohm resistor, and to this side we have in the full schematic here we can see we have the volume pot. So that is this one, right? So it's ground on one side, the middle wiper, the wiper goes to the input of the tube, and the audio input comes on this side. To test the audio, my setup is as follows. I have this Sony radio, and I'm coming out from the radio through the recording output, which is a fixed audio output, and then only with one of the channels I hooked it with a bypass capacitor into the audio gain potentiometer. I put the little knob because remember the chassis is hot. That means the chassis is connected to the mains power cables. That's the way the radio is designed. So if you're doing this or something similar to this, you're doing at your own risk. There is danger of death, and you're doing it at your own risk. So that's why I leave this little reminder here that this is very dangerous, but we'll go ahead and test the audio. So let me turn it on here, and now we have to wait. Let's see if there it goes. Music it has pretty good audio gain. Let me see if I find another station. Pretty good. Okay, there you go. Okay, I will power the radio because I want to show you something. Maybe you can hear that noise. Which it's not clear to me what's the origin of that noise. It's always at the same level, so I don't know what's causing that noise. It's alive. The radio, it's alive. As you can see, I've assembled it all, and after some checking, because at first it didn't work, but then I realized that in the tuning coils here there was a wire that was a little wire that was broken, so I fixed that and the radio started working. So this is the broadcast, AM broadcast band, and we can listen. So this is a bit. Some football, some soccer here. Let's see if there is a goal. I don't know. Very nice to listen to the soccer match in the radio. I like it very much. I also check some shortwave bands, and some station comes up. In some of the bands there is very noisy, but this is a very noisy environment, so I don't know if it will receive or not. Of course, I'm using an external antenna. If I use a little piece of wire, I receive only a couple of stations, one which gets in very strong, but the other ones I think I read 2 or 3 stations in the AM broadcast band, but with the external antenna there are lots of stations. A goal. Well, quick part of the video here, and with Italian music for an Italian radio, which is very nice. Here, what I did was to connect the little magic eye thing, the signal level indicator, and I'm delighted to see it works fantastic. I did the connections here as it was connected originally, and I assembled a new cable here. Okay, I am about to put the chassis of the radio in the cabinet. Before doing that, I would like to show you the underneath of the chassis and to show how I build all the circuits. This is of course the top of the radio. As you can see, I already mounted the back plate of the dial, and with the needle. A tip here, instead of painting the needle, I put some hitching tubing, very thin hitching tubing, and it's really nice. It's really even, so I think that'll look very nice. I also painted the back plate of the dial. Then, as you can see on the top, on the back of the dial, of course, I did all the. Let me see if I can show you a little bit better. I did all the wiring here with the cord, and of course it was incorrectly mounted. This wheel was not being used. Maybe it can be seen at the beginning of the video when I was disassembling the radio. So I had to figure out how this was mounted originally, and I think I got it right now, and the dial is working fine. So as you can see here, the dial is working really nice. Okay. Power cord. This is a power cord with some heatsink here and some strain relief. Not much, because the chassis has its own like grommet there. It's protecting the edge of the hole for the cable, so I think that'll go okay. One of the wires goes to, first of all, and goes to a fuse that I installed here. I added this fuse. I put a 500 milliamp fast blowing fuse there, and then goes to the switch, and from the switch goes to the chassis connection. As we can see from the, maybe we take a look at the schematic here. This is the cable, and I have a fuse here in the middle, and then goes to the switch, and then goes to the chassis connection here. The other cable of the power cord goes to the common wiring of the voltage selecting plate that goes on the rear of the unit. I've wired this following the schematic. I don't know if you remember from the beginning of the video that this selector plate, voltage selector plate, was not wired correctly. So I did the wiring following this schematic, and I will show you this here. We have the, I hope it can be seen there. This is the back plate. I have already installed a jumper there with the different voltages there, and I've selected 220 volts. So that's the main voltage here, and sorry for my hands over there. And then I did the common wiring here, and on the underside I put the different wires that goes to the power transformer. Red, yellow, blue, and black. So the only components that are left from the original radio are, if I'm not mistaken, this capacitor here, which is fine, this capacitor here, which is fine, nothing here, nothing here, this, nope, not even this one, this capacitor here, this ceramic disc, and this resistor here. The rest is all new. The rest, yes, nothing else. A problem that I had when I checked to see if the chassis fitted correctly into the cabinet is that I originally soldered some components too close to the outer part here, and then I had to move them more inwards for a part of the chassis to slide in here, a part of the cabinet, sorry, to slide the chassis through. So maybe I'll show you that later in the video. So this is it, the radio fully mounted. What else? You have the fuse here, of course, and here is the input tuning coils. And once again, we can see here the nice needle. I think this will work very nicely. So and this is a power cable. It's a standard European style plug here, and I had to remember to put it through here. We can see through the back of the back plate of the cabinet, because it has a small hole, and yes, luckily I remembered to wire that through the hole. Well, this is the little Geloso radio, mostly finished. I've put the radio back in its case. I previously cleaned the case very thoroughly and separated this bezel from the case itself. I cleaned the bezel. I also painted the grille in a golden color. I've installed the little magic eye in the front, which is really nice, and it's working very good. And this is the dial, which has some wearing markings here, but except that, it's very nice. It has all the stations and everything. There is a backlight to the dial, which I finally found the correct place. There is a screw that holds the lamp fixture, I didn't find the lamp fixture itself, the little socket that was missing, but I made something with some wire, some copper wire that holds the lamp in its place. I may show you that in a while. What is missing in the radio now is this band selector knob, which it's a bit broken, so I have to glue it up and with some I think epoxy cement, and that will do. But apart from that, it's working really nice. I repositioned the camera so that I'm able to show you a bit better how this magic eye, the tuning light as I call it, works. When the station is very well tuned and the signal is very strong, this vertical bar is almost extinguished. When you detune the radio, the bar is longer. I disconnected the external antenna. I have only left the wire, but the outdoor antenna is disconnected, so the station signals are much lower now, so we can see better how this works. So when I detune the station, you can see that the vertical bar is mostly all the way, and then when you tune the station, it's very nice because it's very sensible, as you can see, so you can play with the tuning until it's really short, and then you know the station is tuned. So I like it very much. That's a really nice feature. Okay, so now I will show you around the radio. I'll reposition the camera and put some light on, and we'll take the back of the radio off to show you how the radio is finished in the inside. This is the back of the radio, which has this really nice cover that is the same material of the rest of the cabinet, and it matches in design. So if you turn the radio around this way, you can see that it's a continuation of the rest of the cabinet, and makes a really nice design. Some maybe older radios have like a different cover made of some thin wood, which is sometimes a bit flimsy, and it's not maybe sometimes it's not very nice in the design, but this cover I like it very much. It is a bit broken here, as you can see, and this is the part where we have the audio amplifier tube, which it's the one that heats up the most. A lot of heat comes out of this tube, so, and you can see that here on the material, which is also a bit yellowed, and of course that is as a result of many years of extreme heat here. But the rest is really nice. We can see here the voltage selector plate, and this is this jumper, which is I have to make a better one. This is just to test the radio now, and this is the antenna output and the wire, the power cord input here. I've put 2 new screws here, and I will take the cover out now, and I will show you the interior of the radio now. This is the inside of the radio, and as you can see, we have the 3 tubes here, and you also can see here, maybe there in the back, you can see the dial lamp that I added, which I also covered it with metallic tape, this aluminum metallic tape, because if I left the lamp uncovered, the light shines through the material here, so it was not very nice. So here you can see the speaker is mounted. This is the speaker transformer, and also, as you can see, the design is really compact because this is my hand, you see, so everything is inside there, very, very well thought out in a way. I also put some metal tape here in the bottom, just some metal tape on all this bottom, because I realized that when the radio was on, if I place it on top of a metallic surface, the tuning moved a little bit. So I realized that it needed, I guess it needed some shielding on the bottom. So that's what I put it. And let me know if you like this type of video. The only thing missing here is the band selector knob, which I have it, but it's a bit cracked, so it needs some repair there. But that's just very easy to fix, no problems there. And the alignment, which I may make another video aligning this radio, but I prefer to put this video out because I have another project for another old radio I have to restore, which if this was time consuming and a bit complex in some ways, the other project will also be, and I think it will be a very interesting one because it's a very interesting radio. It's a much more older radio. I think it's from the 30s, if I'm not mistaken. So when I can get the hands in that radio, I'll try to make a video and show you the whole process as I try to do with this one. So thank you very much for watching the video, and let me know if you like this type of video and the way I do this work. Of course, any comment is welcome. Maybe you would like to share some thoughts with me, and everything is welcome, of course. Okay, thank you very much, and till the next video, bye bye. This resistor, auto spec, this capacitor, leaky, the electrolytic, dead, some wires, another, I think it's a capacitor, dead, another auto spec resistor, and another one, and another one, and more cables, and some selenium rectifier thing that doesn't work, and a little red jumper, another capacitor, another one, leaky thing, more wires, and another wire, another resistor,